Jangan is tied up, battered and bloody in a grimy torture basement. He's too weak to even swat away a fly buzzing in his face. He mumbles, "Food." Some guy in a military uniform is completely baffled. He's just like, "What?" He repeats it, like he's ordering at a drive-thru. I said, "Give me some food." One of the guards mocks him, saying they don't waste food on spies here in their oh-so-great republic. But our guy has a business proposal. He'll confess to everything they want if they just give him a meal. His captors are just stunned silent. They're all looking at each other like, is this guy for real? The officer in charge steps up, clearly intrigued. He agrees to the deal, but only if the prisoner is completely honest. Jangan agrees without a second thought. The officer tells a subordinate to get the food, but the guy hesitates. But the officer goes full evil manager mode. He explains that if they get the confession themselves, their bosses can't steal the credit. If this prisoner spills everything to them first, the whole situation changes and they get the glory. A little later, our prisoner is sitting at a table, still chained up, with a very sad-looking meal in front of him. "Eat," the officer commands. And the prisoner reaches for his spoon and chopsticks. The guards watch him silently. He takes one bite and then starts complaining. "I know North Korean food is dull, but this soup tastes like nothing." Oh, the absolute audacity. The officer is just staring, bewildered, as this guy continues his food review. And why is the rice so hard? Feels more like corn. He concludes that all military food is just plain awful, no matter which side you're on. A true food critic, this one. One of the guards finally snaps. He screams, "I'll kill you right now." Suddenly, a chopstick flies through the air, embedding itself right in the officer's hat. The guards don't even know what happened, until they hear the sickening thud of their leader's head slamming on the desk. "The taste of the food is important," Jangan says calmly. The remaining guards, filled with a mix of terror and rage, charge him, screaming that they'll kill him. With the one chopstick he is left held like a dagger, our boy gets ready for round 2. And it is over in seconds. Standing over their bodies, he keeps his end of the bargain. "Since you fed me, I'll tell you what I said I would." He reveals his identity: Senior Intelligence First Sergeant Du Jangan. Infiltration route, swimming through the ocean, and his mission? To kill them all, including the annoying fly from earlier. Looking at his bloody hands, he sighs. "I should probably stop doing this now." "Yes, my friend, you definitely should." Sometime later in Seoul, we're at a restaurant where 2 bowls of ox-bone soup are being served. Jangan is all cleaned up and in a suit, sitting across from an older man. Look at him trying to be a civilian. The man is Colonel Park, Jangan's boss. He's confused why his best agent is suddenly handing in his resignation. And Jangan's reason is just perfect. He says with a straight face, the military food has lost its flavor. Their food arrives, and honestly, it looks pretty delicious. A nice steaming bowl of seollyeongtang. Colonel Park happily dumps a bunch of kimchi into his soup, like a normal person, and offers the rest to Jangan. But Jangan stops him. "I don't eat it like that. My guy is a food snob even when he's quitting his Black Ops job." He then explains his very specific technique of adding rice a little at a time so it doesn't get soggy. "Are you quitting because of that operation?" And just like that, Jangan freezes. Jangan tries to play it cool. "What do you mean? I finished the mission, didn't I? Even got to taste their crap food." But Park pushes, you know which one I'm talking about, and reminds him that the plan was always for him to come back alive, even if he came back alone. Oof, that's heavy. Jangan quietly insists it's not because of that. Seeing he won't get a straight answer, the colonel decides to drop it. "All right, whatever, let's eat first." Jangan thanks him not just for the meal but for everything. "Thank you for taking on a man like me with no home and helping me make a living." It's actually a pretty sweet moment. The colonel smiles warmly, telling him that his abilities will be recognized wherever he goes. 1 year later, where is our elite agent using his incredible skills? A construction site. His new coworkers are totally in awe of him. They've never seen anyone carry such heavy loads so easily. Jangan is basically a superhero in a hard hat, moving with insane speed and strength. He's totally OP for this job. And yes, even though his skills were acknowledged, life didn't turn out to be easy. During his lunch break, he finds himself just standing outside a local bank. He has this calm, almost sad expression, a huge change from the killer we saw at the start. Inside, a cheerful bank teller is helping an old lady. She happens to glance up and sees him just standing there. And for a moment, their eyes meet. Cue the dramatic romance music. So we learn this whole bank staring routine started a year ago, right after he got his first paycheck. His foreman gave him some solid advice: save your money, don't blow it on drinks like the other guys. The foreman told him that for a young man, that money could be the key to his future. So, the next day, he just went to the bank on his lunch break, and that's when he laid eyes on her for the first time. The teller smiles warmly, handing him a brand new bank book, and in that one moment, Du Jangan is completely thunderstruck. Bro just got hit with the love at first sight debuff. And that's how it all started. He began going to the bank every single lunch break just for a chance to see her. He deposited a little bit of money each time, and slowly they learned each other's names, Siona and Du Jangan. He found out she came from a loving but poor family and started working at the bank right out of high school. He told her he was a former soldier, now working construction. Shiona looks at him with concern, asking why he didn't save any money from his time in the military. He explains that he gave all his money to the families of soldiers who died serving with him. What a saint, right? I don't have a family, he says, but they did. It's fine though, I'm just saving up again. And Siona looks so touched. Jangan grins, holding out his passbook like a kid showing off a good report card. Today, I'll leave myself in your capable hands. She sighs, telling him he should just get a savings account and deposit his money once a month to save time. He just smiles back. But if I do that, I'll only be able to see you once a month. Oh, he's smooth. She gets totally flustered and shoves the passbook back at him. What are you saying? Here. And just like that, our former killing machine found a reason to try and live a normal, happy life. But back in his tiny room, he reflects that he still can't quite manage it. He's watching a news report on an old TV about some welfare center. With a click, he turns it off and collapses onto his bed. I'm tired. He's realized that all those elite skills from his past life are completely useless when it comes to earning a normal living. Or maybe, he concludes, he's just really bad at making money. All he really wants right now is to just eat some delicious food. The man has his priorities straight. Suddenly, a loud knock on his door jolts him out of his depressing thoughts. What the hell? He mutters, getting up to check. Who is it? A voice from outside calls his full name and rank. First Sergeant Do, are you First Sergeant Do Jangan? He cautiously cracks the door open just a little bit. Who are you? A man in a sharp suit smiles politely. Don't you remember me? We worked together. I'm Joe Taemoon. Jangan's eyes widen. He recognizes him. He remembers Taemoon as a talented soldier who quit the army because he had a bit of a temper. Jangan glances down at the man's expensive gold watch. I see you've been living well. Taemoon, now sitting in the tiny room, confirms his job pays well. Taemoon explains he heard Jangan left and just asked around to find him. Then he gets to the point. I have a job request for you. Jangan looks at him, intrigued. What kind of job? Taemoon grins. The one you're best at, of course. Joe Taemoon slides in, saying he heard Jangan quit his old gig and has a brand new job offer just for him. Jangan is immediately suspicious. He wants to know what kind of work it is. Taemoon gets real close, flashing a grin. He says it's the one thing Jangan is a natural at. The implication hits Jangan like a truck, and his face instantly hardens. Nope, not interested. Jangan lays it out plain and simple. He's not getting his hands dirty for money. Taemoon immediately starts backpedaling. He swears it's not a hit, just teaching someone a little lesson. But Jangan isn't buying that act for a second. He demands to know what Taemoon really does for a living. Taemoon finally spills the beans. By day, he's an entrepreneur, but by night, he's a gang boss. He wants Jangan to take care of a rival gang leader. Jangan shuts it down again. He didn't escape his past just to jump right back in. Taemoon scoffs, looking around the shabby room. You quit your old life to live like this? Working construction? Oh, that hits a nerve. Jangan's eyes flash with anger as he tells him to watch his mouth. Sensing an opening, Taemoon dangles the bait. 50 million won. Jangan is absolutely floored. Taemoon explains that kind of cash could buy a nice house or even start a business. It would completely change his life. Jangan does the mental math and realizes it'd take forever to earn that on his own. Taemoon slides him a business card telling him to come to Daesun if he changes his mind. And as he leaves, he drops one last parting shot. It's strange that you're avoiding what you're best at. Jangan is left all alone, just staring at the card in his hand. Later that night, he lies on his floor, the business card sitting on his microwave, practically calling to him. He just stares up at the ceiling, the only sound in the room a constant, maddening drip of water. Not gonna lie, it's pathetic. He tells himself he didn't escape that nightmare just for this, but for now he decides to stick it out a little longer. But Taemoon's words about his talent echo in his head and he makes a decision. He's going to find out for himself if he can really live a normal life without using his special skills. The next day at the construction site, Jangan is staring down an absolute mountain of heavy bags. His boss tells him his job for the day is simple. Move all of them, by himself. Jangan asks where the rest of the crew is. The boss just grins, saying he only called Jangan because of his, good work ethic. He even gives him a condescending pat on the back. Jangan just gives him a deadpan stare. Guess it's time to rage quit, my friend. Meanwhile, over at the bank, the tellers are on their coffee break. Siona sighs, wondering how she's going to get through the rest of the day. Her coworker starts teasing her, asking why she always seems to perk up around lunchtime. She gets specific, pointing out how nice Siona is to Jangan and asks if she has a crush on him. Siona plays it cool, explaining he's just a regular who comes in every day. She has to be nice, it's her job. Her friend isn't convinced, adding that he's not that good-looking or rich. Siona seems a little offended by that. He's not handsome? Siona gets a little flustered before admitting, but he has a nice body though. The coworker just waves it off. Of course he does. He's a construction worker who lifts heavy stuff all day. But Siona shuts her down, saying her own dad was in construction, and he definitely did not look like that. Getting heated, she gets right in her friend's face, telling her to mind her own business and even throws in a little blackmail. Back at their desks, you could cut the tension with a knife. Siona wonders to herself why she got so worked up. They were just talking about Mr. Du. Suddenly, her train of thought is completely shattered. It's Jangan himself, waving as he walks right through the front door. She points out it's not lunchtime yet. He says he's busy later and came early to make a deposit. No, he says with total confidence. Today I came to see you, Miss Siona. He smiles, promises a huge deposit when he gets back, and says goodbye. Siona can only manage a quiet okay as she watches him walk away. She's left completely flustered, blushing like crazy. He came to see me. With a newfound sense of purpose, Jangan walks out of the bank. He heads straight for the bus station, no hesitation. He walks up to the counter and asks for one ticket to Daesun. The decision was made. He called Taemoon, accepted the job, and is now on his way. On the bus, he looks at the card. He figures things are about to get a lot better, just like that brat promised. He finally arrives in Daesun and makes his way across the parking lot. And Taemoon is right there to greet him, waving next to a fancy car and a mountain of a driver. With the introductions made, the three of them drive off together. In the car, Taemoon gets right down to business, showing Jangan a picture. This is your target. His name is Park Gwan-ho. He explains that their gangs are in a turf war over slot machine rights for a big tourist hotel. Taemoon wishes he could handle it himself, but a higher-up warned him not to get involved directly. That's where Jangan comes in. As an unknown outsider, he can make sure Gwan-ho is out of commission for a while and Taemoon gets the contract. Jangan knows it won't be easy. The target will be expecting trouble and will definitely be surrounded by his men. Then he asks a completely random question. What time is it right now? Taemoon is totally confused. After checking his fancy gold watch, Taemoon tells him it's about 12:30. Jangan notes there's plenty of time until 4:30 in the afternoon, which only confuses Taemoon even more. Jangan clarifies he's talking about bank hours. He wants this done fast so Taemoon can deposit his money today and he can make a bank visit. Taemoon warns him that going now means taking on all of Gwan-ho's men at once. Jangan just looks at him blankly and asks, "So?" After a moment of pure shock, Taemoon breaks into a massive grin. "Of course, I'll find his location right now." They pull up outside a restaurant called Yonghua Ru. Taemoon tells him Gwan-ho and his entire crew are inside eating. He also warns him about a massive bodyguard, a former wrestler. Jangan's only question is, "Hey, what's the best thing to eat at that restaurant?" Taemoon is completely speechless. What kind of question is that right now? The driver chimes in from the front seat saying the fried dumplings there are amazing. Fried dumplings? Okay, Jangan says, opening the door. "I'll be back soon." He calmly walks toward the restaurant, leaving the other two to just watch. The driver asks Taemoon if one guy is really going to be enough for this job. Taemoon just lights a cigarette with a smirk. If another guy like him existed, the world would be in chaos. Inside the restaurant, someone is pouring a drink, completely unaware of the storm that's about to walk in. Inside the busy Yonghua Ru restaurant, gang boss Park Gwan-ho is having a great time with his crew. The entire place is packed with his men, all laughing and eating, with absolutely no idea what's coming for them. Meanwhile, at a separate table, Jangan sits alone with his own plate of food. Hey, even a man on a mission has got to eat first, right? First things first, he's got to prepare the perfect dipping sauce for his fried dumplings. He starts by grabbing the bottle of soy sauce. He pours a careful, precise amount into the small dish. Next up is the vinegar. His personal recipe demands a perfect 1-to-1 ratio with the soy sauce. And you absolutely cannot be shy with the red pepper powder. You gotta load that stuff on. With the sauce perfected, he picks up a dumpling and goes in for the first bite. He chews for a second, a look of pure satisfaction on his face. Yep, that's the good stuff. In no time at all, he's completely cleaned the plate and downs the rest of his drink. Feeling satisfied, he lets out a happy sigh. Thank you for the meal. Okay, appetizer's over. With a grin, he thinks, time to get to work, before launching his empty cup across the room. The cup explodes into pieces right next to Park Gwan-ho's head, shocking him and everyone at his table. One of the goons jumps to his feet, absolutely furious. Who did that? What the hell are you doing? Jangan just points right at them. I'm trying to start a fight. The noises you make while chewing is annoying. Gwan-ho's face goes dark with pure, unfiltered rage. With a single command, he unleashes his entire crew on Jangan. Get him. The thugs all surge forward at once, snarling like a pack of wolves. But as the mob closes in, Jangan just stands his ground. A massive, confident grin spreads right across his face. The restaurant is a total dumpster fire. Sauce is everywhere and shattered plates cover the floor like confetti. In the middle of the mess, a man is down for the count, his face a lovely mix of blood and noodles. And there, in the center of it all, is Jangan, the last man standing in a room full of sleeping gangsters. The boss, Park Guanho looks up in disbelief. Just who are you? He stammers, completely stunned by this unknown monster. Jangan barely gives him a glance, cool as ever. Just an outsider with severe anger management issues. As Jangan turns to leave, you can see the pure rage building up in Guanho's eyes. A twisted grin spreads across his face as he mutters, "An outsider?" Guanho thinks he's clever, guessing his rival sent Jangan. He offers to double the pay to get him to switch sides. Jangan actually pauses. Double 50 million is 100 million won, but he's thinking, can this broke boss even afford that? Guanho just laughs, saying the price doesn't matter, because Jangan asks him to finish, but suddenly his eyes go wide. He senses movement right behind him. It's not over yet. One of the thugs is back on his feet, swinging a heavy metal pot stand at his head. "Shoot!" Jangan shouts, whipping around with lightning speed to throw up a desperate block. There's a sickening crunch as solid metal smashes into his forearm with brutal force. Guanho loses it, laughing like a maniac. "Yes! Die, you outsider! Hit him again!" The thug lets out a roar, winding up for another devastating strike. But before he can swing, Jangan pivots and drives a lightning-fast kick straight into the man's groin. The thug's eyes roll into the back of his head as he gags in pure agony. And Jangan isn't finished. He follows up with a brutal stomp that completely shatters the man's knee. Catching his breath, Jangan looks down at the last thug, who is definitely not getting up again. Suddenly, he whips his head around to face the horrified Guanho with an urgent question. "Hey, it's not 4:30 yet, right?" Guanho checks his watch, stammering that it's not even 2 o'clock. "Good," Jangan says, before simply turning around and walking out the door, leaving total chaos behind him. Guanho is left completely speechless. "Good? What's good?" he yells, but Jangan is already long gone. A little while later, Jangan meets up with his buddy Taemoon right outside the Joyun Bank. Taemoon is seriously impressed. "Wow, I really didn't think we'd make it before the bank closed." As they start walking, Taemoon asks the big question, what's he gonna do with all that cash? Jangan thinks about buying an apartment, or maybe playing the stock market since that's what everyone's doing. Taemoon gives him some friendly advice, saying Han Electronics is a safer bet than Sam Electronics because it powers the whole country. Jangan isn't convinced, but Taemoon doubles down, arguing that Japanese electronics are way better anyway. Suddenly, Jangan winces, a sharp jolt of pain shooting all the way up his arm. "Can we go to the hospital?" he asks. "It hurts where I got hit." Taemoon immediately agrees, saying he knows a doctor. Jangan is a little confused. "A regular doctor?" "Nope." Taemoon explains this is a special doctor, one who doesn't ask questions when he shows up stabbed. Next thing he knows, Jangan is sitting in an examination room, looking down in total disbelief. "What the heck?" Jangan mutters. Both of his arms are completely covered in casts. The doctor calmly explains that both arms are fractured. It's a small crack, but it'll take a full month to heal. "A month?" Jangan shouts, absolutely horrified by his new sentence. The doctor gives him a stern warning not to use his arms at all, or he'll just make it worse. Jangan can't believe his rotten luck. This is the worst. Taemoon just pats him on the shoulder. "Oh, I guess you'll have a hard time for a while," he says, not looking sorry at all. Later on, the two are at a restaurant raising their glasses for a toast to a healthy life. Jangan struggles to take a drink with his new clunky casted arms. He wonders aloud if drinking is a good idea, but Taemoon just brushes it off. "Don't you remember the old days?" Taemoon says. "You're the one who taught us to heal our wounds with a drink." They spend the night catching up and reminiscing about their army days, the hours flying by. Beside them, a mountain of empty soju bottles grows larger and larger. A very drunk Taemoon admits he knew Jangan was strong, but he never expected him to win barehanded. He actually prepared weapons just in case. Jangan is taken aback. "A weapon? You mean like a gun?" Taemoon confirms it, leaving Jangan completely shocked. He casually explains that shotguns are easy to get for hunting, while pistols have to be smuggled in from Russia. Jangan just sighs, shaking his head. "Man, you really found a job that suits you." Taemoon disagrees, saying the army suited him better. Then he asks why Jangan quit the special forces when he was a total natural. The mood instantly shifts. Jangan's face darkens as he remembers a mission with 3 of his juniors. "I was the only one who made it back," he says quietly, stunning Taemoon into silence. He explains that he felt he'd lost the right to be a soldier, so he quit. The guilt was so bad he expected them to haunt his dreams, but they never did. "I think it's because they hate me very much," he concludes, his voice filled with sadness. Taemoon just listens. Trying to break the heavy mood, Taemoon does the only thing he can think of. He offers him another drink. The drinking continues, and soon enough, an entire crate is filled with empty bottles. Taemoon, now completely wasted, tries to pour another round, but Jangan tells him he's had way too much. Taemoon denies being drunk at all, slurring his words so badly you can barely understand him. Jangan has had enough. "Whatever. I'm gonna go home," he says, pushing himself up from the table. Taemoon offers to get him a nice hotel, but Jangan insists on going back to his own cheap bed. Forget it. It's fine. See ya. Jangan says, waving a clumsy goodbye as he stumbles out into the night. Stumbling through a dark park, completely wasted, Jangan feels the booze and the big meal hitting him all at once. He figures he should probably sit down on a bench for just a minute to collect himself. But his body has other ideas and he immediately collapses flat on his back. His thoughts are getting blurry. He needs to catch a bus, but he has no idea if they're still running. But there's one thing he absolutely can't forget. His promise to see Miss Siona tomorrow. Suddenly, the quiet night is broken by the sound of a vehicle rumbling towards him. The van screeches to a halt right next to the bench where Jangan is passed out cold. The side door slides open and a group of shady-looking men step out, looming over him. They take one look and start making assumptions. Look at this guy, drunk as a skunk. And what's with his arms? Both crippled. They figure he's just another bum who passed out. With a sinister smile, one of them says, "That's right, we should bring him in and give him some, guidance." Moments later, the bench is empty. The mysterious van speeds off into the darkness. It veers off the main road, heading down a dark path deep into the woods. The van pulls up to a large, imposing set of metal gates, stopping just inside. With a heavy final clang, the gates slam shut behind it. This is no homeless shelter. Jangan has been taken to a place called the Dezen Welfare Facility. A voice cuts through the darkness of his mind, calling out to Jangan. "Sir, First Sergeant Du." He finds himself standing in a desolate, ashen wasteland. Where is this? He wonders out loud. He recognizes that voice, and a look of pure dread instantly washes over his face. Looking across the field, he sees them. His fallen comrades from that fateful mission, their dog tags glinting in the gloom. "You guys are here," he says, his face a perfect mask of survivor's guilt. His eyes fall upon a pistol lying in the grass at his feet. Slowly, he reaches down and picks it up. He presses the cold muzzle to his temple. "Is this what you guys want?" But before he can pull the trigger, a clap jolts him awake. Jangan wakes with a start, for real this time. He's in a strange bed with both arms in casts, and some kid in a blue tracksuit is leaning over him. Totally disoriented, he fires off a barrage of questions. "Who are you? Where am I? What's with this outfit?" The man just smiles. "My name is Lee Sunjo. This place is a Daisen welfare facility," he explains, way too cheerfully. "And this tracksuit is the inmate's clothing." There's a lot to explain, but Jangan isn't listening. He gets up and walks right past Sunjo with one word on his mind. "Home." The other inmates just stare as he passes. Sunjo calls for him to wait, but Jangan ignores him, reaching a heavy, barred metal door. He's shocked to find it's locked from the inside. Sunjo catches up, his tone suddenly dead serious. "This is where people are caught and imprisoned by force." Jangan whips around, demanding answers, but then he spots him. A burly man with a numbered armband standing there with his arms crossed. Sunjo nervously whispers, "That guy is our platoon leader. He has a terrible temper. You must never irritate him." Too late for that. The platoon leader jingles a set of keys as Jangan walks right up to him. "Give me the key to the door." The leader just scoffs, then launches a vicious kick straight at Jangan, yelling, "This cocky bastard." But Jangan dodges effortlessly. The leader stares in total disbelief. Jangan prepares to strike, but hold up. The doctor's warning rings in his head: don't strain the arms or hit anything hard, or recovery will take way longer. "Ah, right," he thinks. The leader's cronies run up, shouting to crush Jangan's injured arm and send him straight to the ward. Jangan knows he could easily wipe the floor with these guys, even with his arms out of commission. But if this place really is a prison, escaping with busted arms would be nearly impossible. His #1 priority has to be healing. If his arms get hit again, the injury will only get worse. He's in a bind. How does he fight while also protecting them? Suddenly, Sunjo steps right between them. "Hold on, platoon leader, please just listen to me." He quickly explains that Jangan is new and has no idea what this place is or who he's messing with. The leader strokes his chin, actually considering it. "If you give him one chance," Sunjo pleads, "I'll educate him properly." Then, to Jangan he whispers, "Beg now. Beg and say that it's your fault. Hurry." Realizing it's better to avoid conflict for now, Jangan swallows his pride. He bows his head low, forcing out an apology. "I am sorry, I was wrong." The leader punches Jangan's head. "That's right. Behave better. Now go and prepare for a roll call." As the inmates gather, Sunjo gives Jangan a quiet thumbs up. "You did great. I'll explain the things that I couldn't a bit later." An order rings out to begin the count, and the inmates start shouting out numbers like they're in basic training. Jangan finds the whole thing completely bizarre. This isn't the military, so what's with the rigid discipline? The count ends at 24. Satisfied, the platoon leader unlocks the heavy door. As they file out, Jangan asks where they're going. Sunjo cheerfully replies, "To eat breakfast." Sunjo seems way too excited about mealtime. Jangan looks around the mess hall, thinking this whole place is just plain weird. But the strangest, most horrifying thing of all is the slop they're expected to eat. It looks like a total dumpster fire. He's absolutely fuming, tempted to stab someone, but all they have are sporks. As he stews, Sunjo begins to explain everything. This place is where anyone is captured and forced to work, Sunjo reveals, explaining they were all labeled homelesses against their will. The welfare facility gets government funding for every homeless person they take in, so they just kidnap people off the streets to make money. Jangan is aghast. They just captured innocent people for their own benefit? Just what kind of humans do that? Just as Sunjo finishes explaining the facility's dirty little secret, the doors slide open and two well-dressed men walk in. Sunjo whispers that they're the director's sons, the vice president, Park Gwang, and the general manager, Park Yom. They stroll through the mess hall like absolute royalty, inspecting their subjects. Another inmate marvels at their power, noting it's like a president is visiting. The level of fear is insane. Sunjo leans over to Jangan, a smirk playing on his face. And right now is your chance to get on that powerful individual's good side. Sure enough, Park Gwang stops at their table, eyeing Jangan's casts. How did you get such bad injuries? Are you new here? Before Jangan can even answer, Sunjo jumps in, eagerly explaining that Jangan just arrived last night and that he's taking good care of him. Gwang seems impressed. What a charitable and great inmate we have here. Sensing an opportunity, Sunjo asks, but am I good enough to be the honor student? Gwang's lips curl into a knowing, sinister grin. So you want to be picked as the honor student? He promises to keep him in mind and asks for his name. Sunjo proudly declares, yes, it's Lee Sunjo. Jangan finally gets it. Sunjo's not just being helpful, the guy has a serious ulterior motive to climb the ladder. With that business settled, Gwang turns his slimy smile back to Jangan. Now then, our injured new inmate, does our facility's food taste good? Without a moment's hesitation, Jangan looks him dead in the eye and replies, no, the food is really bad. The friendly facade vanishes from Gwang's face instantly. Sunjo, standing behind him, looks absolutely horrified. Sunjo cannot believe it. After Jangan was so cooperative with the platoon leader, why is he picking a fight with the final boss? But there's one thing Sunjo doesn't know. Jangan is dead serious about his food. He launches into a full critique, asking if the fish is rotten and calling the soup bland. Gwang seems to consider this, picking up the tray. Really? Let's see. In a sudden explosion of rage, he slams the entire tray of slop directly onto Jangan's head. Gwang's face twists with fury. You insect, you should be thanking us for giving you food. How dare you complain? He then follows up by smashing the hard plastic tray against the side of Jangan's skull. Jangan sits there drenched in filth, his hair covering his eyes. You can just feel the rage building inside him. Slowly, deliberately, he clenches his casted hands into tight, solid fists. Gwang turns his anger on Sunjo, grabbing him by the collar. You told me you were looking after him. Look after him properly so he won't say anything crazy anymore. As he walks away, Gwang laughs cruelly. What's wrong with the salted fish? I can't believe there are idiots like him. Sunjo nervously approaches. Are you all right? I think you should clean yourself first. Jangan slowly looks up and a terrifyingly vengeful expression plastered across his face. His fists remain clenched, a silent promise of the brutal payback that is definitely coming. 29 days until his injured arms heal completely. The countdown has begun. The shower rains down in the grimy washroom of the Daesun welfare facility. Jangan is trying to get clean, but with both arms in casts, even a simple shower is a total nightmare. A bit later, he's stuck on cleaning duty, and his clothes are still damp from that forced wash. He can't stop replaying the moment Park Gwang dumped that disgusting slop all over him. He grits his teeth, absolutely fuming. Man, he is seriously ticked off right now. Sunjo tries to cheer him up, saying the clothes will dry eventually and at least the VP did it before their shower time. But Jangan isn't having it. He snaps back that it's messed up no matter when they did it. Sunjo just drops the subject, knowing he can't win. Suddenly, an older inmate shuffles past, mumbling that he totally agrees with the new guy. Jangan is taken aback. It's not what he said, but how he said it that's so weird. Sunjo immediately snaps to attention, addressing the old man as Your Excellency. Jangan is completely baffled by the super formal title. He's thinking, wait, is this guy supposed to be the president or something? Just then, a guy pops out and starts yelling, Hey, Your Excellence, don't slack off, hurry up and come over here. The old guy just whines. Why is it always me? As he shuffles away. Jangan has to know. He asks Sunjo why everyone calls him that. Is he just pretending to be the president? Sunjo shakes his head. He's not impersonating him, he explains. He genuinely thinks he is the president. This old man is a fellow soldier, a Vietnam War vet who's been tormented by nightmares ever since. The story gets darker. Sunjo says the man was sent to a re-education camp where he developed a crippling fear of the bald president in charge back then. The tragic irony? As the veteran got older, he started turning bald and now looks like the man himself. He can't even look in a mirror without reliving the trauma. Jangan wonders how Sunjo knows all this. Turns out the old man's friend told him the whole story right before he died of an illness, right here in this facility. Wait, he died? Here? Jangan asks, the alarm bells ringing in his head. Sunjo's face gets grim. He reveals people die here all the time. Work accidents, sickness, beatings, Once you're sent to the ward, it's a death sentence. The horrifying reality of this place finally sinks in for Jang Gan. These guys aren't just guards, they're monsters. Just as that thought hits, a platoon leader claps his hands, demanding everyone's attention. He shouts that it's inquiry day. Everyone needs to drop what they're doing and assemble on the sports field now. Sunjo leans in with a grin. Oh, it's inquiry day? You're about to meet the absolute worst of the worst here. Soon, rows and rows of inmates stand in formation on the field, all wearing the same blue tracksuits, all facing a single podium. And at that podium stands the man himself, Director Park In-jae. He's the final boss running this whole twisted operation. An order rings out to bow to the director, and like puppets, all the inmates obey. Jang Gan plays along for now. So that's the guy. The director starts his speech, and it's just as bizarre and condescending as you'd expect. He starts comparing people to trees. He drones on, saying some trees become pillars in a palace while others just get burned as fuel. He starts preaching some about how God uses everyone according to their potential, like Saints Peter and Paul. However, he sneers, "You people are worthless. You're all just twisted, ugly trees. Ouch." He then declares that he will be their carpenter, pruning them into something useful. The God complex is strong in this one. Unbelievably, his goons and even some of the inmates start clapping for this garbage speech. Jang Gan is completely unimpressed. This guy is spouting absolute nonsense without a hint of shame. But while the director is rambling, Jang Gan's mind is already racing. He's analyzing the facility's layout, looking for a way out. He sees the whole place is built right into a mountain, surrounded by impossibly high walls. The only side without a wall is a sheer cliff face where they carved out the mountain. A death trap either way. There's only one way in or out a single main gate, and it's crawling with guards. He quickly concludes that a frontal assault on the gate would be suicide, especially with two busted arms. After the speech, Park Gwang steps up to his father, promising that he and his brother will take it from here. The director puts on a warm smile. "I trust only you two," he says. "I love you, my sons." They reply in perfect unison, "We love you too, father," and the three share a sickeningly sweet hug. Then Park Gwang takes the podium, and now he announces, "We will name this month's honor student." The crowd starts buzzing, and Sunjo gets super excited. He thinks he might actually have a shot since the VP knows his name. Jang Gan doesn't get the big deal, so Sunjo explains, "Honor students are the lucky few who get released, maybe 3 or 4 a month." Jang Gan is immediately skeptical. These psychos just let people go? It sounds way too good to be true. Park Gwang starts the announcement. This time's honor student is from Platoon 4, and just like that, Sunjo's hope is crushed. He mutters, "The platoon is different. I'm in Platoon 3. Kwak Do-young." A skinny, bald inmate absolutely erupts with joy. "That's me," he screams. "That's me, Kwak Do-young." They call him up to the stage to say a few words, and he just stammers out a thank you. He's completely overcome with emotion, crying out, "I'm getting out. I'm finally going home." Sunjo watches with a sigh of envy, but Jang Gan's expression is pure ice. Something isn't right here. Later, we see the honor student Kwak Do-young sitting nervously across from Park Gwang in the staff office. He works up the courage to ask, "Excuse me, when do I get to go home?" Gwang gives him a thin smile. "First, the doctor will give you one last checkup. Gotta make sure you're healthy for the outside world, right?" The door slides open, and in walks Park Young with a smirking man in a lab coat. This doesn't look good. The so-called doctor does a quick check, just shining a light in Do-young's eyes. "Yep, his condition is great," he says, holding up a syringe filled with a nasty-looking liquid. "Now for a little injection, okay?" Gwang chimes in, reassuring him it's just a nutrient shot to keep him healthy, just like they promised. They promise he can go home right after. Desperate for freedom, Do-young agrees. And with that, the doctor injects the unknown substance straight into his arm. The effect is instant. Do-young's eyes roll back into his head as he starts to black out. "It's done," Gwang says calmly as Do-young's body slumps over, completely limp. Gwang's first order? Strip off his tracksuit. "No need to waste a good uniform," he says. "We'll just give it to the next newcomer." The doctor grins, sucking up to him. "Wow, Vice President is amazing. Still thinking about money even in this situation. You've got quite a strong business sense." This annoys Park Gwang, and he shuts the doc down, cruelly reminding him how he gambled away his own hospital. He then smirks, saying his own business sense must be great for putting a failed doctor like him to good use. His expression turns ice cold as he warns the doctor not to cross him or else. And later that night, the horrifying truth of the honor student program is revealed. Kwak Do-young is lying unconscious on a cold metal table. The disgraced doctor, now in a surgical mask, asks for the day's harvest. The order comes back 1 liver and 1 kidney. He pauses for a moment, processing the grim order. He quietly seethes, cursing Gwang's arrogance. He admits to himself he's only doing this because he's desperate for the money. An assistant nervously suggests using anesthetic, but the doctor snaps at him. And right at that moment, Do-young's fingers twitch. Suddenly, Kwak Do-young lurches upright. His eyes are wide with pure terror as he demands to know where he is. The doctor is completely flustered and tries to lie, insisting it's just a routine examination. But Du-young isn't buying it for a second. He panics, shoves an assistant away, and screams for them to leave him alone. He scrambles off the table and makes a desperate run for the door. The doctor screams for his staff to catch him, but Du-young is already halfway down the hall, shouting that they promised to send him home. His desperate escape comes to a dead stop as he runs face first into the towering, monstrous figure of Park Young. Without a single word, Young delivers one brutal punch that completely caves the man's face in. As his body goes limp, Du-young's last thought is a heartbreaking plea to finally be sent home. Young casually drags the man's broken body into a dark room, and the heavy doors slam shut with a horrifying finality. Meanwhile, Tae-moon is getting a status report. The brawl Jang-gan started, it sent Park Gwan-ho and his entire crew straight to the hospital. And with their rivals completely paralyzed, Congressman Choi's office didn't waste a second. They immediately handed over the rights to a new slot machine business. Tae-moon loves the sound of that, laughing his head off despite complaining about a nasty hangover. Tae-moon explains that Congressman Choi is a sly old fox. He's a political shark who knew exactly what was going down and made his move instantly. Even better, if things go smoothly, the congressman himself might show up to cut the ribbon at the grand opening. Now that's a power move. As Tae-moon finishes up his report, he takes a bite of a dumpling and a memory suddenly hits him. Right before that epic beatdown, Jang-gan asks the most important question of all, so what's good to eat at that place? The driver looks back and just recommends the fried dumplings. Fried dumplings? Okay, I'll be back, Jang-gan says, before stepping out of the car, ready for war. Back in the present, Tae-moon savors his bite. Man, he was right, these things really are amazing. But his mood quickly sours as he remembers Jang-gan's busted-up arms, wondering if his boy made it to his destination safely. Spoiler alert, he is not safe. The scene shifts to the Daesun welfare facility where Jang-gan, with both arms in casts, is being forced into manual labor. The inmate next to him, Lee Sunjo, asks for his name. "I'm Du Jang-gan," he replies. Trying to make small talk, Sunjo asks what kind of job he had on the outside. Jang-gan gets a flash of his insanely brutal special forces days before vaguely saying, I did a lot of manual labor. Sunjo assumes that's how he got injured. Well, yeah, technically he did get injured doing his job. So Jang-gan just agrees. Suddenly, a big dude with a 3rd platoon armband storms over, yelling at them for talking instead of working. He gets right in Jang-gan's face, asking why the vice president singled him out. He warns Jang-gan not to cause any trouble for their platoon, then gets real aggressive. "Answer me, you punk!" he screams, slapping Jang-gan clean across the face. Jang-gan clenches his jaw, fighting back some serious murderous rage, and forces out a quiet yes. The platoon leader shouts at everyone again. Sunjo whispers that it's not just their platoon, everyone is terrified of getting singled out. Jang-gan glances around the room, then asks a very sharp question: why is their barracks door locked from the inside? Sunjo explains that an inspector once complained it looked too much like a prison, so now the platoon leader keeps the key and locks it from within. They choose guys who are nobodies on the outside and are now on a power trip in here. Then he sighs, wishing he was one of the lucky honor students who got to go home. But going home is not what it sounds like. We flash back to the grim reality, where Park Yum accepts a medical cooler from a nervous doctor. The doctor tries to smooth things over, apologizing for the little incident. "Sir," Yom calls out. Then he viciously knees him right in the stomach. As the doctor gasps for air, Yom coldly reminds the man to address his brother as Sir Vice President. He leaves him on the floor with an envelope full of cash. The doctor curses the whole disgusting business, but that fat stack of cash seems to change his tune real quick. Later at a dark port, Yom approaches a van creepily labeled Professional Butchering. He hands the cooler to a masked man inside and in return receives another thick envelope of money. This is shady as it gets. Yom returns to the facility and heads straight for the director's office. He reports to his father, Director Park In-jae, who tells him he's done excellent work. What a lovely family. The director then opens a massive safe and adds the blood money to an enormous mountain of cash already inside. These guys are pure evil. Night falls over the Daesun welfare facility. The inmates are asleep in their bunk beds. Jang-gan is sleeping soundly until a sudden sharp shout of "get up" rips him awake. 4 days have passed. Jang-gan makes his bed, already used to the miserable daily routine. His brutal training from his special forces career has made it easy for him to adapt to this harsh environment. Still, this whole situation is beyond annoying, and he has no choice but to endure it until his arms heal. He tries to pretend he's just on a difficult covert mission, but thinking about it just makes him even angrier. He remembers a time when he feared nothing at all, not even life-or-death missions. But now, he has one thing he has to worry about. Staring out a barred window, he worries, "I can't go see Siona for a month. What should I do if she forgets about me in the meantime?" Meanwhile, at the bank, Siona sits at her desk, completely lost in thought. The doors open and she's hoping it's Jang-gan. Nope, not him. Her coworker tells her it is time to go for lunch. Walking outside, Siona realizes she has not seen Jang Gan for several days now. She was so absolutely sure that he would come back to the bank again, just like he promised. She recalls his confident smile as he waved goodbye, promising to return and deposit a lot of money. She cannot help but worry, hoping nothing bad happened to him. Siona wonders, what if he's being held captive and forced to work? Yep, he totally is. What if he got hurt? Yep, he totally did. Suddenly, the platoon leader grabs Jang Gan, screaming at the cripple for being too slow. An older inmate tries to intervene, pleading with the leader to not be so harsh with an injured person. The platoon leader grabs the old man who tried to help, yelling that he must have lost his mind. But the old vet just mumbles back, "I haven't lost my mind. I am the president of this country." "You crazy old fool," the leader roars before smashing his fist right into the old man's face. The old man crumples in pain as the platoon leader walks off without a care. Jang Gan watches the whole thing silently, but seeing this blatant abuse against a helpless old man, a switch just flips inside him. Slowly, Jang Gan gets to his feet, his arms still bound and useless in their casts. With pure, unrestrained rage on his face, he screams, "Hey, platoon leader, you pathetic excuse for a man." The entire room goes dead silent, and Jang Gan stands defiantly over the old man. Every single inmate, including Lee Sunjo, is staring with their jaws on the floor. They cannot believe what just happened. The platoon leader is absolutely furious. He grits his teeth and asks Jang Gan if he has completely lost his mind. The commotion finally grabs the platoon leader's crew. Jang Gan's eyes narrow. He knows what he has to do. Before these guys can interfere, he's going to take them all down. The platoon leader doesn't waste a second, charging straight at him and screaming that he's going to kill him. But Jang Gan is already a step ahead, flying up in the air. Before the goon can even process it, Jang Gan smashes his foot right into his face. And just like that, one man is down. The entire room absolutely loses their minds. Jang Gan cracks a little smirk. Fighting 3 guys with 2 broken arms isn't ideal, but he has a plan for the last 2. The remaining thugs charge him, totally blinded by rage. And this is exactly what he wanted. The goon throws a wild blow, screaming that Jang Gan is an arrogant brat. Jang Gan dodges all his punches effortlessly, and then he finally finds an opening. The thug swings, but Jang Gan sidesteps and bam, a sideswipe to the leg, and followed with a blow to the head. He finishes the combo with a clean kick that sends the final goon flying across the room. And there he is. Jang Gan stands over the 3 unconscious bodies, finally letting out a sigh of relief. The other inmates can only stare in awe, completely dumbfounded by the sheer brutal efficiency of it all. But the adrenaline quickly wears off. Jang Gan realizes he lost his temper and now he has a huge mess to clean up. Suddenly, the whole room starts chanting his name. Do Jang Gan, what the... In a wave of hype, the entire room joins in, cheering for the new hero who just stood up for them. This is the absolute last thing Jang Gan wanted. He frantically tries to quiet them down before a guard shows up. And just like that, his worst fear comes true. A staff member bursts through the door demanding to know what all the noise is. The guard freezes, his jaw dropping as he takes in the scene of total chaos and unconscious bodies on the floor. His eyes lock onto the platoon leader. He completely snaps, whipping out a baton. He shoves the baton right in Jang Gan's face and screams, asking if he was the one who did this. Jang Gan's mind is racing. He knows he could easily disarm this guy with a single well-placed kick. He could even use the guard's own weapon against him, but he knows that would just make everything so much worse. He imagines making a run for it, only to be stopped by the facility's massive, unbreachable steel gate. He knows if he tries to escape, the rest of the staff will swarm him, and protecting his broken arms would be impossible. Sure, he could take down a few more guards, but if his arms get hit again, his chances of escape would drop to 0. He would win the battle but lose the war. Right now, the smartest move he can make is to de-escalate. So Jang Gan bows deeply. He apologizes, saying he was wrong, hoping to avoid making things any more complicated. But just as he's about to defuse the situation, a new voice cuts in. It's the Vice President, Park Gwang, and he does not look happy. Jang Gan's heart sinks into his stomach. This situation just went from complicated to completely impossible. Gwang strolls into the room looking at the carnage. He asks, "A single guy with injured arms took out 3 people?" He gets right in Jang Gan's face. "I thought you were just a fool who complained about the food, but you are much more than that." Gwang asks for his name. After he answers, Gwang asks him what he was thinking before immediately cutting him off. "No, forget it," Gwang says while poking him. "The fact that you were thinking at all is the real problem here." Gwang's face twists into a psychotic grin. "My rule is that you follow the platoon leader. If I make the rules, you just follow them. Don't think." He leans in close, his smile completely unnerving. "I can see you still have thoughts behind your eyes. You will be in the punishment room for 3 days. Jang Gan isn't too worried. 3 days in solitary? He can handle it. But the look on Lee Sunjo's face is pure terror. Gwang's wicked grin widens. "When you return from there, you won't have any thoughts behind your eyes at all." He tells Jang Gan he has 3 days in confinement to reflect on his actions. But as Guang turns away, he gives his absolute unit of a brother, Park Yom, a secretive look. Yom steps up and gets right in Jangan's face and calls him Du Jangan, and then bam. Without any warning, Yom lands a brutal punch right across Jangan's face. Answer him, he growls. Stunned and bleeding from the mouth, Jangan quietly manages to mumble, yes, yes. But that's not good enough for this psycho. Yom grabs him and smashes his head against the wall. Just answer once. Jangan fights to keep his cool, forcing out another quiet, yes. So Yom slugs him again. Your answer should be loud and clear. Guang watches the whole beatdown. This will serve as a warning to them all. As Jangan is finally led away, the other prisoners whisper nervously, worried he won't survive what's coming. But Jangan turns to them and gives them a smile. Wait, is he smiling? Lee Sun-jo is completely baffled. The punches must have scrambled his brain. Jangan is escorted across the courtyard toward a separate, ominous-looking building. Thinking back to the beatdown, he admits to himself, that guy's fists are strong, but my fists are even better. A menacing grin spreads across his face. He can't wait for his arms to heal. A guard shoves him with a baton, telling him to hurry it up. Jangan just glares, adding another name to his mental hit list. Meanwhile, Park Yom isn't finished. He violently slaps the platoon leader that Jangan had knocked out earlier. The humiliated leader looks up in total shock as Yom coldly tells him to get up. After dismissing the other prisoners, Guang and Yom corner the platoon leader for a private conversation. Guang calmly cleans his glasses and then drops a bomb. I don't think you're qualified to lead a platoon. The leader sputters, trying to argue, but Guang cuts him off. You were knocked out by a man who can't even use his arms, am I wrong? He wonders out loud how a man so weak can possibly expect to lead anyone here. The leader knows the truth, that Jangan was a monster, but he can't admit that without losing his position for good. So he does the only thing he can. He lies, claiming Jangan attacked him from behind. Guang plays along. Oh, is that so? Then you could beat him in a real fight? Go ahead and beat him right now. The leader's face goes pale with terror. Guang reminds him he has to save face in front of his men to maintain his position as platoon leader. Then Guang reveals his twisted plan. The fight will happen after Jangan comes out of his 3-day stay in the punishment room. And just like that, the leader gets it. They're gonna break Jangan mentally and physically, then serve him up for an easy win. Guang pats him on the shoulder and the newly confident leader eagerly agrees to the whole setup. Jangan is led down into a dark basement, the location of the infamous punishment rooms. He recognizes the setup as solitary confinement, but wonders why they would build it in a basement. The guard opens a door and tells him to get in. Jangan is completely stunned by what he sees. It's not a room at all. It's a narrow, vertical locker. He realizes these cells are built for one thing and one thing only: torture. When he hesitates, the guard threatens to break his already injured arms, forcing him to comply. Jangan steps into the cramped space and the heavy door slams shut, plunging him into absolute darkness. Alone in the dark, his military training takes over. He's actually familiar with this kind of chamber torture. You can't sit, sleep, eat, drink, or use the toilet. The entire point is to break a person down completely. He grits his teeth in pure rage. They dare to use this kind of torture on normal people, those crazy psychos. But he knows what he has to do. The only thing that matters now is surviving the next 3 days. Dawn breaks over the grim Daesun welfare facility. A full 24 hours have passed since Jangan was tossed into the punishment room. Inside, he's barely conscious, his mind starting to blur from pure exhaustion. He's forced to stand, drifting between a few seconds of sleep and just straight up blacking out. And to make things 1,000 times worse, dude is absolutely starving. His mind can only focus on one thing right now: food. Meanwhile, back in the 3rd platoon's room, the platoon leader is taking out his rage on Lee Sun-jo. He screams at Sun-jo, accusing him of siding with Jangan while he was knocked out cold. The platoon leader sends a vicious kick right into his gut, telling him to shut his mouth. He calls anyone who sided with Jangan a bunch of communist traitors, vowing to make them all pay. Then he grabs Sun-jo by the hair and lands a solid punch right to the face. Sun-jo goes flying, crashing hard onto the floor. But just as he winds up for another kick, the old man who thinks he's president steps in to stop him. Who does this old guy think he is? The platoon leader is furious and kicks the old man down without a second thought. He and his goons immediately start stomping on the old man. Freaking commie spies, they scream. Elsewhere, Director Park In-ji is busy in his office, packing up shoeboxes full of bribe money. He hands his son Guang a stack of gift bags, telling him exactly who to give them to. Guang turns to his brother Yom, come along for the ride this time. But before they leave, Guang spots an even bigger box absolutely stuffed with cash. The director just smiles, explaining that this massive bribe is for someone at the very top. With the bribes loaded up, Guang and Yom hit the road to make their deliveries. Yom seems a little nervous and asks his brother what exactly they get in return for all this money. Guang just waves it off, saying these people help out in, quote, various ways. For example, this guy from the welfare department, he makes sure they get all the government funding they want. Guang tells him not to worry about doing anything extra, just keep up the good work. Yeah, right. Next on the list is the Daesan police chief, who they pay to look the other way. And their final stop is with the Daesan district's prosecutor. These are the guys who make sure any whistleblowers trying to expose the facility get shut down immediately. The prosecutor actually has the nerve to complain, saying he'd prefer apples. Seriously? As they drive off, Guang can't help but curse under his breath about how picky the guy is. Then, he pulls out a fat stack of cash and hands it over to a very surprised Yom. Here, take this. Yom asks if he skimmed it off the top, and Guang just grins, saying they deserve a little bonus for their work. He even admits he did it last time and no one noticed. Good things should be shared, right? Yom looks totally moved. With their dirty work done, Guang decides it's time to celebrate with some good old Korean BBQ. He treats his little brother, even making him a perfect, fully loaded lettuce wrap. He even feeds it to him personally, smiling about how well his brother eats. But as they're eating, Yom brings up the plan to make Jangan fight the platoon leader. Guang just smirks. Does Yom really think a guy who's been tortured for 3 days can actually win? Yom points out that Jangan took down 3 guys with 2 broken arms. He thinks there's a chance. Guang isn't having it. What good is a strong guy if you can't control him? But he says if that punishment room truly breaks his spirit, then he can make Jangan into his perfect, obedient dog. What a psycho. Back in the locker, 2 whole days have passed. No food, no sleep. To stay sane, he started listing off all the amazing food he's going to eat when he gets out. It's his only reason to live. And then he finds another reason to keep fighting Miss Siona. He starts daydreaming about asking her out to dinner once he escapes this nightmare. In his head, he plays out the scene. He asks, and she happily says yes. He even tells her it doesn't matter what they eat, as long as he's with her. This one single thought gives him the strength to endure the crushing darkness. Finally, after 3 long days in that black box, the door clanks open. The moment it opens, Jangan's exhausted body just spills out onto the cold floor. He's completely spent, and as he groans, a pair of shiny dress shoes steps right into his view. It's Park Guang, and he looks absolutely thrilled, smirking as he says, "Good. Those are the eyes I wanted to see." Fresh out of the punishment room, Jangan immediately collapses, but Park Guang, completely unimpressed, just orders someone to move the body. Thankfully, Lee Sunjo and the old man emerge from a cell to help, even though they're looking pretty bruised themselves. They struggle to lift Jangan. Sunjo can't help but notice just how wrecked he looks. They follow Guang and Yom across the courtyard. Jangan finally stirs, immediately asking about Sunjo's bruised face. The answer: the platoon leader beat them for siding with him. The old man just laughs it off, but seeing his friends hurt for his sake makes something snap in Jangan. His expression turns deadly. "But where are we going? I'm hungry," Jangan mutters. Well, they sure as heck ain't on their way to get food. The massive crowd parts, and standing there is their opponent. It's the platoon leader, cracking his knuckles and looking for revenge. Our boy is starved, exhausted, and barely standing. And then it hits him. This is a setup. They weakened him in the punishment room just to pit him against the platoon leader. The platoon leader remembers Guang's words, reminding him how embarrassing it would be to lose to this guy a second time. But the platoon leader steals himself. In his mind, this fight is already over thanks to Guang's perfect setup. Guang is laughing, eating this up. It's like a gladiator duel. Well, it's more like an execution, but who cares? Yom, on the other hand, remains completely silent, watching the Jangan like a hawk. With a sick grin, Guang gives the order. It's time to start the fight. A staff member steps between them, announcing the fight will begin on his signal. Jangan lets out a heavy sigh. All he wants to do is get some rest. But looks like the platoon leader has something up his sleeve as he gives his minions a knowing glance. The signal is given. With a massive battle cry, the platoon leader charges forward. But hold on. Quick flashback. The platoon leader's own men were worried about this fight, even after solitary. They all remember how he demolished 3 guys at once, while his arms were still in casts. A nervous platoon leader asks if there's any way to guarantee a victory, and one of his cronies has a plan. The plan is simple and incredibly dirty. The moment the fight begins, kick his injured arms. The platoon leader calls it a cheap trick, but his ally makes a good point. A cheap win is still a win. Back in the present, the platoon leader lets out a furious scream and charges forward. Jangan seems to resign himself to his fate, thinking it's best to just take the beating and end this quickly. He closes his eyes, completely ready for the incoming attack. But at the absolute last second, a thought flashes through his mind. I cannot let him hit my arms. The platoon leader unleashes a high kick, aimed directly for Jangan's cast. But his eyes widen in total shock. The attack completely misses. In an absolute blur of motion, Jangan ducks under the kick, and he counters by slamming his own foot directly into the platoon leader's chest. The platoon leader chokes, the impact knocking all the wind out of him. Yom is completely stunned. He wonders aloud if Jangan was trained in martial arts. Guang, however, just lets out a quiet, intrigued laugh. He's enjoying the show. The platoon leader cannot believe it. How is this guy still so strong after 3 days in solitary confinement? Jangon's eyes flicker towards Sunjo and the old man. With a grimace, he lunges forward, closing the distance in an absolute instant. He smashes his forehead into the platoon leader's face with a sickening crunch. Blood explodes from the platoon leader's nose as he is sent flying backwards. The entire crowd, from the inmates to the Park brothers, stares in complete and utter shock. He immediately follows up with a knee to the gut, dropping the platoon leader for good. The platoon leader's men cry out his name in horror. They can't believe it. But Sunjo and the old man are going absolutely wild, cheering and shouting for Jangon. Jangon stands over his defeated opponent who lies gurgling on the ground. He looks directly at Guang and Yom and asks them, "Satisfied now?" Guang just breaks into a massive grin. "Yeah, I'm satisfied. You are a funny guy." Jangon tries to say something else, but his voice just trails off. And then he promptly collapses, completely out cold on the ground. Everyone is baffled. Guang can't believe it. He asks if the guy just fell asleep. The incredibly loud snoring answers his question. Guang's confusion melts away into a wide, manic grin. He declares this guy is extremely amusing. And just like that, a sinister new idea begins to form in his mind. Later, Jangon's eye suddenly snaps open. He's awake. The first thing he sees is a smiling Lee Sunjo looking down at him. Jangon asks what happened. Sunjo explains that he just fell asleep, so he skipped work to carry him back. As Jangon tries to sit up, his eyes land on something very unusual. There is a set of keys dangling from the cast on his arm. He has no idea what it is. Sunjo delivers the punchline to Park Guang's twisted joke. He's just been appointed the new leader of the 3rd platoon. Jangon's reaction is all shocked Pikachu face. He is completely, utterly flabbergasted by the news. Inside a drab office, Park Guang is mixing up 2 cups of instant coffee, going heavy on everything with 2 scoops each. He slides a steaming cup over to his brother Yom with a friendly warning about the heat. But Yom isn't in a friendly mood. He just stares into space and asks his brother what in the world he was thinking. Guang takes a sip, playing completely clueless. "What are you talking about? Tastes fine to me." Yom cuts right to the chase, demanding to know why he made Jangon the new platoon leader. Guang explains the old leader was a total letdown, but Jangon? He was surprisingly strong. He smirks, adding that their new guy will be very useful later. Yum is not buying it for a second. He insists Jangon is not just some random thug. The guy is clearly a professionally trained fighter. He warns Guang that once Jangon's arms are fully healed, they'll have zero control over him. But Guang just smiles, completely unbothered. He starts explaining their twisted system of control, pointing out how it only takes 1 employee to watch an entire platoon. He then asks a simple question: what if 20 or 30 inmates decided to jump that single guard all at once? They would win easily, right? And yet, despite having the numbers, not a single of their, quote, students ever tries it. Guang leans in, asking his brother, "Why do you think that is?" Yom guesses it is because backup would show up fast and anyone who rebels would just get beaten down and tossed in the punishment room. But Guang just shakes his head. He reveals the real reason with a chilling smile. It is the absolute fear and helplessness that keeps them obedient. He compares it to breaking elephants. You beat them with iron hooks as babies, so even when they are strong enough to kill a man, they are too terrified to fight back. They just need to train Jangon the same way. Yom still looks worried, but Guang waves it off. Making Jangon a platoon leader is designed to make him drop his guard and get comfortable. Guang predicts that in time he will start thinking of this prison as his new home, just like everyone else. Speaking of Jangon, the old leader's lackeys are now kneeling before him, begging for forgiveness, but our boy just sighs, looking completely bored by the whole thing. He looks down and tells them flatly, "I can't forgive you guys." And you can see the absolute shock on their faces. But then he explains it is not because he holds a grudge. He literally has nothing to forgive since he barely knows them and has no beef with them personally. Then Jangon gestures to the rest of the inmates watching from the sidelines. They're the ones you should be begging for forgiveness. The 2 cronies turn around and are met with the ice-cold glares of the entire platoon, all the people they have been bullying for weeks. Jangon just yawns, tells them to handle it themselves, and flops onto his bunk to get some sleep. What a legend. He lets out a happy sigh, thinking about when something as simple as lying down became such a huge luxury. His eyes land on the Platoon 3 armband they gave him, and the gears in his head start turning. He is figuring out their plan. He realizes they wanted to make an example of him, letting the old leader save face after getting wrecked before. But his absolute beatdown completely shattered that plan. Since the old leader was useless after losing twice, they just shipped him off to the patient ward. That part makes sense to Jangon. But the real question is, why make him the new leader? He wonders if they think a little taste of power will turn him into their loyal dog, just like the last guy. A tiny, mocking smile spreads across his face. He thinks to himself, how adorable, who do they think they're dealing with? He figures they are either sheltered rich kids who have never met a smart person, or they are just too selfish to imagine anyone thinks differently than them. He plays with the keys on his armband. For now, he decides he will play their little game. Meanwhile, we cut to the grand opening of the Daesan Hotel Casino. It is a massive event, and right in the middle of the ribbon-cutting ceremony is Joe Taemoon, looking like a total boss, rocking those white gloves. On the count of 3, they snip the ribbon and the whole place erupts with flashing cameras from the press. An older man, Senator Choi, shakes Taemoon's hand to congratulate him, and Taemoon thanks him with a polite smile. But underneath that smile, Taemoon is thinking, "You old geezer, if you hadn't played both sides, I would have had this done ages ago." An aide quickly reminds the senator about his next appointment, so he gets ready to leave. Taemoon gives him a deep, respectful bow as he leaves, wishing him a safe trip. But the second the senator is out of sight, that polite mask completely disappears. Taemoon lets out a frustrated sigh. Then his mood flips in an instant. He turns to his men and cheerfully yells that they are all going out for dumplings. He flashes a huge grin, declaring that tonight everyone can order whatever they want on his tab. Later at a restaurant, Taemoon and his crew are chowing down on an absolute feast, laughing and drinking together. One of his guys pours him a drink, saying he did a good job. But he notices that even with the new business, Taemoon looks kind of down. Taemoon throws back the drink and admits that, yeah, money is great, but everything has just been so boring lately. He explains his philosophy: the world has rules, and he climbed to the top by crushing the weak and taking what he wanted. But now that he is a businessman, he has to hold back and bow to powerful old guys like the senator. Business rules are dirty, he sighs. After the meal, his crew sees him off as he hops into his car and speeds off into the night. While they're driving, he suddenly tells his driver to pull over, saying he'll get out here. His driver is confused, pointing out they are still far from home, but Taemoon insists he just wants to walk and sober up. So Taemoon is walking down this dark, empty street when a voice calls out to him. Surprise! It's Park Gwan-ho, his rival boss, and he brought his entire crew. Taemoon just smirks, totally unfazed. "Where are the rest of your boys? Still in the hospital?" Gwan-ho grits his teeth and says he just wants to ask a question. Taemoon, acting drunk, makes a counteroffer. "If you guys can beat me, I'll answer whatever you want." Then he beckons them all forward with just one finger. Gwan-ho is furious and orders his men to attack. And as they all charge, Taemoon's drunken act vanishes, replaced by a massive, excited grin. The alcohol is long gone. Taemoon grins like a total maniac and declares that he is stone-cold sober and ready to party. Taemoon finds himself surrounded by Gwan-ho's goons, but look at this guy. He's completely unfazed as they scream for his head. One of them yells and swings a bat right at his face. But Taemoon just casually leans back, dodging it like it's nothing. The thug is furious, calling him arrogant, but Taemoon just hits him with a legendary smirk. "I'm not cocky," he says, "I'm just confident in my skills." And then bam, he plants a fist square in the dude's face. The other thugs are totally stunned. Taemoon starts dismantling them one by one, moving through the brawl like it's a choreographed dance. One goon tries a sneak attack, but nah, Taemoon effortlessly disarms him and knocks him out cold. After all that, he's barely breaking a sweat. He casually asks, "Now, where was I?" Like he was just interrupted during a coffee break. But hold on, the fight isn't over yet. A much bigger goon grabs Taemoon by the collar and lifts him clean off the ground. The big guy warns him to choose his last words carefully. But then suddenly the brute's face twists in pure shock and agony. He starts coughing, his grip loosening just enough for Taemoon to gasp, "You need to let go if you want me to speak." And with that opening, Taemoon drives a vicious elbow into the man's side, completely finishing him off. Taemoon dusts himself off and picks up a bat. "That was a decent warm-up," he says with a grin. "Shall we get serious now?" Finally, the boss, Park Gwan-ho, has seen enough. He steps in, holding up a hand to stop the fight. "That's enough. Let's talk." Taemoon just grins and tosses the bat aside. He's straight to the point, asking if this is all about the slot machine business. But Gwan-ho isn't here for revenge. He says it's pointless. Instead, he needs to ask Taemoon about the lone wolf who ambushed his entire crew. "Why? You planning to get your revenge on him?" Taemoon asks. He challenges Gwan-ho to another fight for the answer. Getting desperate, Gwan-ho demands to know where Jang-gon is because they couldn't find him anywhere. Taemoon just waves him off, claiming he has no idea. They went drinking after the brawl and he has no idea where his friend went. His mentions that his arms were completely messed up though. And right there, a light bulb goes off in Gwan-ho's head. Taemoon walks away with a smirk, leaving Gwan-ho to stew with his defeated crew. Back at their base, one of his guys apologizes, but Gwan-ho isn't listening. Just then, a tough-looking subordinate with a missing tooth walks in, fresh from military reserve training. This is Choi Sang-cheol, and he's ready to go after Taemoon immediately. But Gwan-ho tells him to hold up. He has a different target in mind. He explains his theory. The ambusher broke his own arms and probably went to the shady hospital Taemoon uses. He wants Sang-cheol to find him. Sang-cheol looks confused, but Gwan-ho's motivation is crystal clear. This wasn't about business, it was personal. That man stomped all over his pride as a gang boss. Now understanding, Sang-cheol agrees to the mission. The very next day, he pays a visit to Socheon Hospital. The doctor asks what's wrong, and Sang-cheol, rocking a ridiculous floral shirt, clutches his chest dramatically. My heart hurts right here, he says, because someone messed with my boss. After a little forceful persuasion, the doctor finally cracks and gives up a name, Dujangan. Unfortunately, a name is all he gets. The doctor explains he doesn't keep personal records for Taemoon's special patients. On the phone with his boss, Gwanho sends him to the next logical spot, the udon bar where Jangan and Taemoon were last seen together. Sang-cheol immediately asks the owner about a guy with 2 broken arms, and what do you know, the owner remembers him? After a quick cash payment, the owner spills the beans. Django got drunk and stumbled off to catch a bus, even though they probably weren't running anymore. But before he can get any more info, he's interrupted. A group of Taemoon's men roll up and surround him. Sang-cheol tells the terrified owner to hide. He tries to play it cool, saying he's just there for the udon, but these guys aren't buying it for a second. The lead thug starts taunting him, rubbing it in that his entire crew got wiped out while he was gone. And then he does it. He grabs the thug's head and brutally shoves his face right into the steaming hot bowl of udon. Then he grabs the nearest bottle and smashes it over the thug's head. He turns to the other thugs, grins like an absolute maniac and asks, "You want some too?" The noodle shop is a total wreck, a mess of broken glass and spilled udon. Sang-cheol stands there, completely calm as 2 of Taemoon's thugs try to corner him. But he's not trapped at all. In a flash, Sang-cheol pivots and absolutely decks one of the thugs right in the jaw. The dude goes flying like a ragdoll and crashes hard to the ground. His buddy just freezes, terrified. But then he decides to charge. Wrong move, buddy. Sang-cheol is way faster, bringing his fist down on his face. And just like that, the fight is over in seconds. Sang-cheol casually sits back down and turns to the terrified owner like nothing even happened. He just asks, "Now where were we?" The poor owner is shaking, but he explains his theory. He figures Jangan probably got drunk, missed the last bus, and slept on the streets. Sang-cheol does not look happy to hear that. Dude probably just skipped town first thing in the morning. But wait, the owner stops him. He says there's a good chance Jangan is still around. Apparently, the local welfare center is known for grabbing anyone they find sleeping or even walking alone on the streets at night. A welfare center, huh? Now that's an interesting lead. Sang-cheol strokes his chin, deciding it's definitely worth checking out. And just like that, we cut to the Daesun Welfare Center. This place looks less like a shelter and more like a prison, with inmates in tracksuits eating in dead silence. And look who it is. It's Jangan, our boy, with his arms still in casts. He's just staring listlessly at his sad little tray of food. His new buddy, the former platoon leader, asks him what's wrong. Jangan just complains, wondering how he's supposed to heal his arms while eating this garbage. Then this old dude who thinks he's the president chimes in, offering to get him some special herbal medicine. Really? Jangan surprised he had some. Sunjo quickly leans over and whispers to him to just go along with the old man's delusion. Suddenly, the entire cafeteria goes quiet as everyone stands and bows. It's the vice president, Park Gwang, and his brother Yeom making their grand entrance. Gwang's eyes immediately lock onto Jangan. He walks over with this slimy, condescending smile and says, "Well, look here, ain't this the 3rd platoon leader?" After a stiff greeting, Gwang gets right to it, trapping Jangan with a simple, loaded question, "How's the food here?" Uh-oh. Jangan falls silent. Nearby, you can see the sheer panic on Sunjo's face. He's silently begging him not to say the wrong thing again. Thankfully, Jangan learned his lesson. He forces out a reply. "It's very tasty." Gwang just beams, absolutely loving this little display of submission. As the brothers walk away, Sunjo lets out a huge sigh of relief, telling Jangan that was a smart move. Meanwhile, Gwang explains his philosophy to his brother. Humans will always adapt to their environment, no matter how awful. But Yeom still looks skeptical, staring at Jangan and his crew. Gwang's got this smug look on his face, totally confident that he'll have Jangan completely broken and obedient in no time at all. Later on, Jangan and Sunjo follow the old president out to a crumbling stone wall where he starts digging in the dirt with his bare hands. Sunjo is totally baffled. "Sir, you promised us medicine. Why are you digging up holes in walls?" The old man just tells him to be patient, and to Jangan he asks, "And you, why'd you even come with us?" Jangan counters that Sunjo told him to play along, didn't he? Plus, there's nothing else for him to do the rest of lunch break anyway. It actually reminds him of his time in the military. He and his friends used to do pointless things. He realizes those pointless moments were what made them all feel human. And in a soul-crushing place like this, he thinks to himself, those little moments of humanity are more necessary than ever before. But suddenly, the old man yells out, "I found it." Both Jangan and Sunjo jump. He proudly holds out his hands to show them the herbal medicine he found. It's a handful of wriggling baby mice. What the? The old man is just smiling, happily explaining that since they're so young, you can just eat them whole. Bones, meat, and everything. He reminds Jangan that he needs the protein and calcium for his arms to heal. While Sunjo looks like he's about to puke, Jangan is actually considering it. Where'd this old dude learn this from? Vietnam or the Samcheong Re-Education Center? After thinking for a moment, Jangan completely shocks Sunjo. "You're right," he says. Sunjo laughs, thinking Jangan was agreeing with him, but his relief turns to horror when Jangan clarifies, "For my arms to heal, I need nutrients." Ignoring Sunjo's horrified protests, Jangan takes the bunch of them and pops them in his mouth like gummy bears, pink, wriggling gummy bears. And he does it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Sunjo just gags, covering his mouth in utter disbelief and horror. "Yeah, I think I'm gonna be sick too." Jangan's thoughts are chilling. He tells himself that in order to survive, he has to act ordinary. And to survive this brutal place, he has to become even more brutal than they are. The shift from heck is finally over at the Daesun Welfare Center. But of course his co-worker has to give him a hard time on the way out. They bust his chops, asking why he's in such a hurry to get home. It's not like he has a wife waiting for him, right? But he completely ignores them, bolting out the door with a look of pure desperation on his face. Turns out, they were half right. He does not have a wife, but there is someone he is absolutely desperate to see. And that someone is Lady Luck herself at an illegal gambling den. This dude is a total degenerate. He draws his cards, his heart pounding in his chest. This is it, the moment he has been waiting for. He is already deep in debt to the house, but that does not matter. He is feeling it tonight. This is his big win. And boom! He wins a round, shouting in excitement. "See? Told you his luck was in." Feeling on top of the world, he confidently slams his cards down. A solid 9. Try beating that. But his opponent just smirks, cool as a cucumber. He tells the guard his luck might not be so great after all, and our boy is not having it. Because the opponent flips his cards over, revealing a perfect flush. The guard's face just crumbles. It is over. He lost it all, including the house's money. Now the loan sharks corner him, suggesting a counseling sessions to discuss repayment. Yeah, that counseling session went exactly how you would expect. He is now tied up and beaten to a pulp in some grimy basement. He cannot process it. How did his luck turn so bad? Just as he is lost in despair, a nearby door creaks open. A man in a sharp suit steps in. This is Sang-Chiel, and he tells the guard to forget the cards and focus on his real problem. The guard is terrified, asking who he is. Sang-Chiel just lights a smoke and gets right down to business, asking about his job at the welfare center. Sang-Chiel lays down the law. He is the one asking the questions, and all the guard needs to do is confirm if a certain person is inside that facility. The guard tries to play the confidential info card, but Sang-Chiel is way ahead of him. That is exactly why he is here in person. And then he drops the hammer. He bought the guard's gambling debt. The loan sharks are out, and Sang-Chiel is in. He offers a simple deal, help him, and the massive debt just vanishes. A glimmer of hope appears in the guard's eyes. Now that he has his full attention, Sang-Chiel asks the real question. Is a man named Du Zhanggo with 2 busted arms inside the center? The guard's memory clicks. He remembers seeing him. He confirms Django is there, and Sang-Chiel's face lights up. Target acquired. Sang-Chiel's demand is simple, bring Django to him. Why? So he can end him for good. The guard freaks out, saying it is impossible, you cannot just smuggle someone out of a place like Daesun. Okay, fine. Sang-Chiel pivots. If he cannot get Jangan out, can he get himself in? The guard warns him it is a one-way ticket to hell, worse than any prison. But Sang-Chiel just sees that as proof the plan will work. Cracking under the pressure, the guard spills the beans. The center's van prowls at night, snatching up the homeless to fill their beds. All Sang-Chiel has to do is play dress up as a homeless guy, and he will get a free ride inside. Sang-Chiel is 100% on board. Later, the plan is a go. As the van arrives at the welfare center, inside, the guard nervously checks one last time that his debt is really getting wiped clean. Sang-Chiel promises the proof of payment is coming, but not until after he gets inside and finishes his business. Inside, the guards announce a new fish for the 3rd platoon. Lee Sunjo glances over and is shocked by what he sees. It is Sang-Chiel, now rocking a shaved head and the blue tracksuit. He is officially an inmate, and he is ready to hunt. Jangan, wearing the platoon leader armband, steps up to welcome him. Sang-Chiel locks onto him instantly. He thinks to himself, Do Jangan, 2 arms in casts. Yep, that is definitely the guy. Bingo. Sang-Chiel plays it smart, introducing himself with a deep bow and showing total respect. Jangan is completely caught off guard. He lays it on thick, saying he knows his place and always bows to the guy in charge. What a performance. Jangan is pretty amused by this new guy's attitude. He tells Sunjo to show him to an empty bunk. Sunjo tells him he will fit right in, and Sang-Chiel cryptically replies that he has been in these kinds of environments before. But then the friendly act completely disappears. Sang-Chiel grabs Sunjo, his eyes burning with a dangerous light. He gets right in his face, asking why nobody like him is giving orders. The terrified Sunjo can only stammer out an apology. Sunjo quickly points him to a bed, and Sang-Chiel lets him go. The pecking order has been established. Lying in his new bunk, Sang-Chiel focuses on his one and only target, Du Jangan. Phase 1 is complete. Meanwhile, Jangan notices Sunjo looks a little shaken up and calls him over. He teases him, asking if he is crying, but Sunjo quickly denies it, saying he is just tired. Right. All the while, Sangcheol is watching his target, still finding it hard to believe this is the same guy who got himself captured. But here he is, acting like the king of the castle with a leader's armband. This guy adapts fast, but whatever, he will wait for the perfect moment. The second Jangan lets his guard down, he strikes. A new day at the Dasan welfare facility kicks off with a rude awakening for our assassin Sangcheol. He jolts awake, totally confused. For a second, he thinks he's back in the army. But nope, reality hits hard as he's shoved into line with the other inmates for roll call. Sangcheol is fuming. This mission just went from hard mode to impossible. But he's a professional. He decides to play it cool and wait for the perfect opening. He clenches his fist. Jangan's life is on a timer and the clock is ticking. And things get even worse at mealtime. Sangcheol gets a look at the absolute garbage they're serving. He mutters that even army food was a 5-star meal compared to this slop. Furious, he glares across the room. This is all his target's fault. He spots Jangan, who looks like he's having a real bad time with the food too. Sangcheol smirks. Looks like the new guy hasn't adjusted to prison life just yet. After that gourmet meal, it's time for some hard labor in the quarry. Of course it is. Sangcheol is floored. He turns to an old timer and asks what kind of welfare center this is. The old guy explains this is the worst job and lucky them, it's their platoon's turn. Trying to kill time, Sangcheol asks the old man what he did for a living. And the answer is, not what he expected. The old dude says he was the president. Sangcheol is just staring. The man clarifies, the president of this entire country. Okay, this guy is clearly nuts. Sangcheol just laughs it off and gets back to work. But his mood sours instantly when he sees Jangan just standing around doing nothing. Just as Sangcheol is about to snap, Jangan does something that shocks everyone. With a ridiculously heavy pack of rocks on his back, he takes off at a full sprint. Sangcheol's jaw hits the floor. How is he moving that fast with all that weight? The old man snaps him out of it. Annoyed, Sangcheol swings the hammer down with pure rage. He looks down and realizes his angry smash actually created something useful. By sunset, Sangcheol is completely drained, muttering about all this unpaid labor. A guard finally calls it a day. As the crew prepare to head back inside, Sangcheol gives the shady guard a shady look. Back in the barracks, the inmates realize the new guy, Sangcheol, is missing. But he's not slacking. He's outside, putting the final touches on his brand new weapon. He is so done with this place. Holding his makeshift shiv, he decides tonight is the night. Later that night, the entire platoon is asleep, but Sangcheol is wide awake, ready to go. Shiv in hand, he slips out of bed and creeps toward his target's bunk. Meanwhile, our boy Jangan is in dreamland. He is somewhere way better than a prison cell. He's dreaming he's on a date with Miss Siona, grilling up some perfect Korean barbecue for her. He snips off a perfect piece. Here, go on and eat it, he tells her. Siona takes a piece and places it on a lettuce wrap. Jangan is surprised when she offers it to him. Then he blushes. Ah, you take it, Miss Siona. But Siona insists. He's still blushing like crazy, but happily opens his mouth to take the bite, and his eyes fly open to the real world. Sangcheol is looming over him, shiv raised, ready to end him for good. Siona bolts upright, gasping for air. A cold sweat clings to her skin, the terror of a nightmare still gripping her chest. Even on the bus to work, she can't shake that awful feeling. Why would she dream of Jangan getting hurt? Is she just mad he ghosted her? Or is this a gut feeling that something is seriously wrong? She can't even focus on work. Her lunch break becomes a mad dash to Jangan's old construction site. She finds the foreman desperate for answers, but he just tells her Jangan quit a whole week ago. The foreman thinks he hit the lottery or something, but Siona knows that's just not him. Back at the bank, nothing adds up. If he was leaving, why visit her right before vanishing? He promised he'd see her again. This silence isn't just rude, it's absolutely terrifying. Then, staring at her reflection, it hits her like a ton of bricks. Something terrible has happened to him. She slaps on a fake smile for work, but underneath she's made up her mind. She will find out what happened. Meanwhile, back at the facility, Sangcheol makes his move. He lunges with a shiv at the sleeping platoon leader. But Jangan is just too OP for that. He wakes up and dodges at the very last second. Sangcheol stumbles back, shocked. His clean assassination just turned into a messy brawl. He screams Jangan's name and lunges again. The entire barracks jolts awake in confusion. The inmates can only watch in shock. The new guy is trying to murder their brand new leader. Jangan just casually checks out the shiv. A paleolith? Nah, it's probably a neolith since you've grinded its edges. He's completely unbothered. He just asks why this guy is even attacking him. Sangcheol slashes wildly and screams his mission. He's here to end him. Period. Jangan is legitimately confused. He says, I don't know you, but Sangcheol claims his boss knows him very well. And here's the motive. It's revenge for what he did to their gang and his hing. And just like that, it clicks. This dude works for Park Won-ho. He's here for payback for that restaurant beatdown. Jangan just bursts out laughing. Did your boss tell you that I soloed your entire damn crew on my own? What exactly do you think you can do alone? Sangxiel is furious at being laughed at. He charges forward, falling right into Jangan's trap. See, Jangan knows the first rule of fighting. Getting emotional makes your moves big and sloppy. And big, sloppy moves leave massive openings. Jangan spins, landing a heavy kick. He disarms the shiv with zero effort and Sangxiel backs away. He silently curses, looking for another way. But Jangan's already read his mind. You probably think you have a chance because my arms are like this, he smirks. But I'm about to teach you a very valuable lesson. Even a toothless tiger can rip a puppy to shreds. And Sangxiel takes the bait, hook, line, and sinker. He screams and rushes in for the kill. But just like Jangan called it, an emotional fighter is a predictable fighter. And he spots the opening in a heartbeat. Jangan unleashes a brutal knee strike. He catches Sangxiel right in the middle of his charge. Before he can even recover, Jangan follows up. He smashes a cast right into his face. The combo is insane. He stomps Sangxiel's knee to break his stance. And he finishes him with a merciless overhead slam. It is over. Sangxiel is down, gasping on the floor. He just can't process it. How can a guy with 2 broken arms move with so much power? Now Sangxiel gets it. This is why their entire gang got wiped out. Standing over him, Jangan gives him a simple choice. Give up on revenge or never walk again. Sangxiel gives up. He promises to never, ever come after him again. And just like that, the killer vibe is gone. Jangan claps his cast and tells everyone to go back to bed. That's some loyalty you got, Jangan remarks. Coming here just to get revenge for your boss. Well, Sangxiel had no clue this place was a dump. Well, this place is unimaginably horrible, Jangan replies. What will you do now? Sangxiel casually says he's leaving in the morning, surprising Jangan. He realizes that this dude Sangxiel has no clue about this hellhole. You don't just walk out of here. Alright, next day at the facility and it's time for some good old-fashioned chores. Outside, Jangan and Sunjo are on broom duty. Sunjo spots Sangxiel, who's clearly decided that manual labor is for peasants, and he just has to say something. He marches over like, hey, can't you see everyone is cleaning except you? Sangxiel hits him with the dead-eyed stare in a simple, so? Oh, the disrespect. So, start cleaning, Sunjo yells. The gangster can't believe the audacity. He's all like, what? You talking to me? Before Sunjo gets himself folded like laundry, he runs behind Jangan. But Sangxiel just scoffs. Forget it, I'm getting out of here anyway. My man thinks this is a hotel with a checkout time. This gets Jangan's attention. Oh really? Getting out? And what's your master plan for that, genius? Just then, a guard shows up, breaking up the party. Hey, less talking, more sweeping. Sangxiel gives Jangan a smug look. Plan? You don't need a plan. You just walk out. And look who it is. The very same guard that Sangxiel has wrapped around his little finger. Sangxiel is not in the mood. Hey, my business here is done. I need to leave. Jangan and Sunjo are just watching, completely baffled by this guy's level of audacity. What are you doing? Have you lost your mind? The guard shoots back, checking to see if anyone heard that. My business is done here. Let me out. I'm not even a homeless person, Sangxiel demands. The guard curses and grabs him by the collar. I already explained it to you. This place isn't your average welfare center, he whispers. I don't care about that. I can't take it anymore, Sangxiel declares while the guard tries to shush him. Sangxiel leans in with a threat. If you don't listen, I can't clear your debt. Oh, there's the blackmail. Jangan's watching from the sidelines, probably wondering if these two are about to kiss. The guard completely loses his cool and whips out his baton. But then, a little light bulb goes off in the guard's head. A sinister grin spreads across his face. He's thinking, hey, if I just keep you locked up in here, my debt is basically gone, right? And bam! Sangxiel drives a fist right into the guard's face. The guard stumbles and Sangxiel casually picks up the dropped baton. The guard looks up in pure terror, screaming, you crazy bastard. And with zero hesitation, Sangxiel smashes the baton right into the guard's face. Oof. I dare you to say that again, he challenges. Another guard runs in, shouting for him to stop. Sangxiel doesn't even flinch. He just delivers a vicious backhand that sends guard number 2 flying. He follows up by giving him a face full of dirt. Brutal. Sunjo is totally impressed. Wow, that newcomer is pretty good. But you beat him before. Jangan, you're amazing. Jangan just blushes. But our boy is already plotting. The guards are basically useless. He can take them on. Meanwhile, Sangxiel is still going full psycho mode on the first guard. The dude is a bloody mess, barely whispering for someone to save him. Sangxiel, high on his victory, glares at him. You're dead now. Famous last words, my friend. He raises the baton to strike, but his arm just stops. Caught midair, it's Park Yom, catching it like it's nothing. The final boss has arrived. Who is this guy? His grip is, and before he can finish his thought, Yom just snatches the baton away. Then Yom delivers one single, devastating punch. Pow! Sangxiel's head nearly flies off his shoulders. Jangan is watching this whole thing go down. Okay, so even if I beat the guards, and that guy is going to be a problem. Yep, the vice president's younger brother himself, Park Yeom. But Yeom isn't done. He goes down hard on Sang Sheo. All the other inmates watch in terrified silence. Message received loud and clear. Yeom's goal here is simple: make an example out of this guy. Beat the fight out of every single one of them. He wants them so scared, so powerless, that they'll never even think about fighting back. Just as Yeom raises the baton for the final blow, a voice cries out, "Wait a second." And who else would it be? It's Jangan. He runs over, apologizing. "He's from my platoon. I think he just went crazy for a second." Jangan knows if he doesn't do something right now, Yeom is going to end up killing him. So he bows his head, pleading, "Give me a chance. As platoon leader, I'll educate him properly." Park Yeom just stares, silent, calculating. The gears are turning. He's thinking something's different. This isn't the same defiant guy from before. He can't figure it out. Is he really just protecting his man? Did that little platoon leader armband actually break his spirit? Yeom lowers the bloody baton to Jangan's face. "If he does this again, I'll punish you both." With the message delivered, Yeom turns and walks away, leaving total carnage behind him. Later, Yeom asks the surviving guard what happened. That guy started yelling at the employee, saying he wanted out. Yeom just listens, his face cold and splattered with blood. The beaten guards bow and apologize over and over for all the trouble. Yeom just watches them, his mind clearly putting the pieces together. Back with the platoon, Jangan helps the now mangled Sang Sheo up. "Dude, what were you thinking, demanding to be let out?" Sang Sheo spits out some blood. "That employee, he's the one who got me in here. He owes me." And now it all clicks for Jangan. He warns him, "Thanks to you going full psycho, they probably know something's up between you two." But Sang Sheo is still cocky. "Why should I care?" Jangan looks over at the guards, talking to Yeom. "How do I put it gently? That employee is going to try to kill you now, just to save his own skin." The next day, they're stuck doing some seriously boring busy work. Jangan gets the full story from Sang Sheo. Sang Sheo sighs, wishing his boss had just sent a SWAT team instead of this sneaky plan. But hey, that wasn't in the budget, apparently. But Jangan is actually impressed. He's like, "Wow, you walked into this nightmare alone for your boss? That's some serious loyalty." Sang Sheo is not here for compliments, though. He quickly changes the subject. "Okay, so what's your plan? You're not just gonna rot in here, are you?" And Jangan says he's out of here as soon as his arms are back in business. The doctor said it would take about a month to heal, and he figures it has already been 2 weeks. Time flies when you are in a secret illegal prison, I guess. So with just 2 weeks left, he will be a free man. Sang Sheo, using his brain, asks the most important question, "How?" And Jangan's master escape plan, my friends? I do not know, I will just get out somehow. Yeah, Sang Sheo is not feeling the confidence. He's like, "So you have no plan either?" And sighs. Jangan asks him if anyone on the outside knows he's here. Yup, he told his own boss, Guanho, everything before he came in. And speak of the devil, Guanho is having a complete meltdown, slamming his desk in a rage because he has not heard a peep from his boy. He is losing it, ranting that even if Sang Sheo got wrecked or worse, he should have at least sent a text. The absolute disrespect. That is it. He has had enough. He tells his boys to gear up. They are going on a little road trip to the Daesun welfare facility to sort this out themselves. And they are off. The gangster mobile is burning rubber down the highway, ready to cause some problems. Finally, they pull up to the giant, creepy gates of the facility with a dramatic screech of the tires, classic villain entrance. The goons pile out of the van armed with baseball bats, already complaining that they are in the middle of nowhere. No Wi-Fi out here, boys. And who is there to greet this army? One lone security guard. Bam! One of the thugs immediately introduces the gate to his baseball bat. The message is clear: open up or get opened. The poor guard hits the deck, totally dazed, as his buddies finally decide to show up to work to see what is going on. He scrambles back to his feet and screams, "What is wrong with you people?" And then the final boss appears. Guanho steps out, looking absolutely terrifying. "Son, do I look like your son, you punk?" The guard's courage instantly evaporates. He starts stammering, asking what brings them to their humble, totally not a prison facility. Guanho lays it out simple. "I am here for my little brother Sang Sheo. Bring him to me. Now." Meanwhile, Sang Sheo's guard frenemy watches the scene and recognizes Sang Sheo's gangster friends. Were they here for him? And then suddenly Vice President Park Gwang himself rolls up, asking what all the commotion is about. Gwang takes one look at the situation, completely unfazed, and decides it is time for the big boss, him, to step in. Meanwhile, the guard is having a full-blown panic attack. He knows if Gwang finds out what he did, he is absolutely toast. Gwang strolls right up to the gate with a smug little smile, ready to handle these wannabe invaders. Guanho absolutely loses it, screaming about why he cannot just walk in when his brother is trapped inside. But Gwang just hits him with the classic, "Is he your real little brother?" Guanho has to admit, well no, but he is like a brother. Fed up with the word games, Guanho does the most logical thing possible. He dramatically sits down on the ground like a toddler having a tantrum. And then he delivers his threat from his new seated position. You better open this gate, unless you plan on never leaving this place again. He's not moving an inch. They will never leave until Sangchiel is standing right there in front of them. And it actually works. Guang finally gives in. He tells them to hang tight while he goes and checks if they have a Sangchiel. But as he walks away, you can practically see the steam coming out of his ears. He cannot believe the absolute nerve of these guys. Back with our panicked employee, he sprints into the workshop, grabs Sangchiel, and basically says, "Follow me, now." He whispers that this is his one big chance to escape. But Jangan is watching this whole thing go down, and his spidey senses are tingling. The guard leads Sangchiel down a sketchy back alley. The thug is suspicious. Why say that he'll keep him here forever and suddenly change his mind? The guard just mutters a flimsy excuse. Suddenly, he points down the alley, telling him about a super-secret exit. It is his ticket to freedom, or is it? Then the employee pulls the oldest trick in the book. "Oh, what was that noise? You go on ahead, I will check it out." Totally not sus at all. The second Sangchiel turns his back, the guy grabs the first thing he sees. A big, heavy brick. "Oh no, here we go." He lunges, swinging the brick right for Sangchiel's head. But just then, swoosh. A leg flies out of nowhere and kicks his back. Of course it is Jangan. He kicks the traitor to the ground. Sangchiel is completely speechless, and he hits him with the ultimate "I told you so." See, I said he would try to kill you to save his own skin. That is when the betrayal finally sinks in. Sangchiel looks at the man on the ground, trembling with pure rage, and picks up the brick. He screams, "You snake," and raises that brick high, ready to end this man's whole career right here and now. But Jangan steps in. "No," he yells, and whoosh. Jangan flies in with a kick, even with both arms in casts. He sends the brick sailing. Sangchiel is absolutely furious. He wants to end that SOB now, but Jangan is cool as a cucumber. He just points out that if Sangaral had done it, he'd be done for too. Then, Jangan turns to the guard. "What the heck, dude? Why sept you try to kill him? You'd think he'd be grateful, right?" "Nope. Did you just call me dude?" he yells. Oh, Jangan is not having that. He's like, "Why is a little punk like you acting so tough after just trying to kill someone?" The employee completely loses his mind. How dare another inmate call him out? The audacity. Jangan doesn't even argue. He just lands a solid kick right in the guy's stomach. Problem solved. He grabs the winded guard and asks, "You have the nerve to talk to me like that after I saved your life?" Then glances at Sangchiel. "You need to wake up. You almost died if I didn't stop that guy." Finally, the guard spills the tea. Sangchiel's gang is right outside demanding his release. Sangchiel gets all excited, but the guard shuts that down immediately. It's useless. They'll just pretend you're not here. They won't even be able to get inside. The vice director will never open that door. And so they start bickering again about whether the gang can force their way in. It's like watching children. Jangan is already regretting his decision to help. You can see the exhaustion on his face. He's just babysitting now. He glances at his armband and realizes his old military instincts are kicking in. He doesn't want to lose another subordinate, even these two morons. Finally, he cuts in and warns them, "If this continues, both of you will die." Sangchiel and the guard are both confused. They're like, "Both of us? Why me?" Jangan lays it out. Smuggling someone in was a huge mistake. If the director finds out, he's a dead man. And with all the shady stuff going on here, they won't just fire him, they'll make him disappear. Then he turns to Sangchiel. "You're an accomplice, and with your gang making a fuss, you're a loose end they'll need to tie up." Sangchiel is terrified now, stammering and asking if there's any way out of this mess. Jangan's brilliant plan is to just keep it a secret. Literally the same plan they had before. Genius. Of course, they immediately start arguing again. One guy tried to kill the other, so trust is a little low right now. Jangan has had enough. He cuts in with a smile. "Then just believe in me and do it." They're both like, "Believe in you?" And he just calmly says, "Yeah, believe in me. Believe that I will definitely kill whichever one of you does something stupid," he growls. And just like that, they shut up. Both of them are pale with fear. Now that's how you negotiate. With Jangan looming over them, they reluctantly shake hands. A temporary truce. Jangan figures the gang boss outside will back off for now if he actually cares about his man's safety. Meanwhile, in his office, Park Gwang is on the phone telling someone to hurry up. He's always scheming. A little later, Park Gwang returns to the gate. "I've checked," Gwang says, lying through his teeth. "There's no such person in our facility." Guanho explodes, but Gwang just calmly repeats the lie. "There's no one here by that name." Guanho threatens to call the cops and tear the place down, warning him things are about to get serious. Gwang isn't fazed at all. He just pushes up his glasses and says, "Is that so? Are you going to call the police?" Right on cue, a van pulls up the road. Talk about perfect timing. A group of men get out, and these guys look like serious detectives, not your average patrol cops. Guanho is totally confused. He hasn't even made the call yet. How are they already here? He recognizes their leader. Captain Kang, what are you doing here? Uh-oh, this can't be good. Captain Kang pulls him aside for a little chat. Guanho, we need to talk. Guanho insists his man is inside, but Kang tells him to give it up. Even we can't touch this place. Kang explains that the director here has connections way above the police chief. We're talking top-level stuff. He says we are here on orders from someone much higher up. Now that is some serious power. Guanho is completely stunned. He can't even imagine who could have that much influence. Kang advises him to just leave. Making a scene will only make it worse for his guy on the inside. And all the while, Guang is just watching with that punchable, smug grin on his face. He knew this would happen. Defeated, Guanho finally gives in. He understands. There's nothing he can do. He tells his men to pack it up. It's over. They're leaving. Guanho faces Guang one last time. It seems I made a mistake. I'm sorry. As he turns to go, Guang stops him with one more question. By the way, that guy Sang-Shiel, what's his last name? Guanho hesitates. Sang-Shiel's real last name is Choi. Why is this guy asking? The mind games continue. Thinking fast, Guanho lies to protect his man. It's Park Sang-Shiel. Nice save. Guang just smiles pleasantly. I see. I hope you find that person soon. As they drive away, Guanho can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong. What in the world is going on in that place? He just has to hope Sang-Shiel will be okay. Back at the gate, Guang asks his guard about the newest recruit they brought in. His eyes gleam. All right, let's go. We need to check if that guy is Sang-Shiel or not. Oh, this is bad. And just like that, the hunt for Park Sang-Shiel is on. Poor guy has no idea what's coming. As Guanho's crew drives off, one of his guys questions why they're just leaving like that. Meanwhile, in another part of the facility, it's rock-smashing time. Park Yam is overseeing this lovely operation when one of his guys comes running. The guy is totally out of breath. Sir General Manager, the Vice Director is looking for you. He heads over and learns what happened with the gangsters. Bro, if something happened, you should have called me. He knows his brother's temper is a liability. That's why Guang didn't call him. It's fine, it's already over anyway. But things aren't done yet. They head over to Jang Gan's platoon. The guard who got played is sweating buckets. But Guang doesn't waste any time. There's a new recruit here, right? Bring him to me. Guang gets right in his face. Are you Sang-Shiel? The poor guy just nods. Yes, I'm Sang-Shiel. And you can see the sheer panic on their faces. He's thinking, he knows the name? Did that idiot Park Guanho spill everything? Guang leans in with a smug look. So you're Park Sang-Shiel, correct? But Sang-Shiel, with the most confused look on his face, goes, No, my name is Choi Sang-Shiel. Record scratch. Everybody freezes. Guang is speechless, and Jang Gan and the guard look like they just won the lottery of dumb luck. Guang's face immediately darkens. He was sure that gangsters said Park Sang-Shiel. So what do you do on the outside? He asks the thug. Jang Gan is praying this idiot doesn't blow their cover. Sang-Shiel plays dumb. Isn't this where hobos gather? I'm a hobo, so that's why I'm here. Guang stares him down, clearly not buying it. Jang Gan breathes a sigh of relief. Okay, so maybe Sang-Shiel isn't a total moron. But Yoon steps in, grabbing Sang-Shiel. Hey, weren't you the one making a scene earlier, like you had a secret agreement with the guard? Guang looks at Sang-Shiel, while Yoon stares at the guard. I also heard that these two were talking. Sang-Shiel goes into full panic mode, bowing deeply. I'm sorry, I wanted out, so I grabbed the guy who looked weakest. I'm sorry for the trouble. Guang still looks skeptical, so Sang-Shiel doubles down, pointing right at Sang-Shiel. Yeah, look at him. He looks like a total weakling. The absolute shamelessness of this guy actually makes Guang crack a smile. What recruit has the nerve to talk to an employee like that? Then he waves them off. Get back to work. Outside, Yuum asks his brother if he's really letting it go. Guang plays it cool, saying maybe the gangsters got it wrong. His advice is don't get hung up on every little thing. But then he turns with this chilling smile and adds, if it still bothers you, you can always clean it up later. Later, they all meet at the alley, and the guard lets out a massive sigh.
I'm alive.
Jang Gan actually compliments Sang-Shiel. Well done. You handled that better than I expected. But Sang-Shiel is freaking out. How do I get out of here? I can't stay here forever. The employee leans in conspiratorially. There's one way. It's called a reformer. If you get chosen, you're released. Sang-Shiel can't believe his ears. What? For real? Jang Gan vaguely remembers hearing about something like that. The employee smirks. Yeah, and I'll make sure you become one. Jang Gan just listens, a new plan already clicking into place in that big brain of his. Meanwhile, back in the city, Siona is standing outside this rundown hostel, totally wasting her weekend. Turns out, she was so worried about Jang Gan that she pulled his address from his bank application. Looking at the place, she thinks he must have had it rough. Suddenly, an old woman pops up. Are you looking for someone at the hostel? Siona nervously asks about Do Django. The owner cuts right to it. Are you Django's girlfriend? Siona panics for a second, realizing this old lady won't talk unless she plays along. So she just blurts it out. Yes, I'm his girlfriend. The owner is surprised. He said he was leaving for work for a bit, but he hasn't been in touch since it's been about 15 days. She finds it weird he wouldn't call his supposed girlfriend. Siona is totally caught and has no idea what to say. The owner tells her not to worry, his stuff is still here. She then tries to remember what he said before he left. In a flashback, we see the owner talking to Jangan. He told her he quit his job because a better opportunity came up. He promised he'd be back by the next day, famous last words. Suddenly, the owner remembers. He said if anything happened, I should call the number from that business card. She hands Siona a note with the contact info. Here, try reaching him with this. Before she leaves, the owner gets cheeky. So, when's the wedding? She adds that he's a good guy and must have a good reason for not calling. Walking away with the lead, Siona wonders if she's doing the right thing. Then she smiles. Yes, I think so too. The note is pretty cryptic. Just a name, T-Moons, a phone number, and a mention of a school in Daesan. She figures she'll just have to ask Django about it herself. Once she actually finds him. That's a wrap on this recap. Hit that subscribe button to help us keep pumping out awesome content. Catch you in the next one.